All right, so welcome back. If you just joined us, you're in luck because I have with me in studio experts on eSports. We're discussing the popularity of this gaming sector and where it is headed. It's one of the few that enjoyed success during the coronavirus pandemic. And if you missed the first installment, well, we're going to recap here just shortly on Inside Sports. Hashtag Inside Sports, hashtag eNCA. I'm going to take you live now to Soweto where the FIFA 21 qualifiers are taking place and the CEO, of course, of the competition, that's of course Gabriel Ramokotjo, is on the grounds and he's obviously part of this conversation as well. Gabriel, thanks for joining us on eNCA. It's great to have you on the show. You already look a little bit disappointed. What's going on?
No, I'm not disappointed. You know, one can say pretty much, let's say, just excited.
Yeah.
And, you know, just having the guys that will be competing today here. You know, everyone is here standing up, ready to get onto the battle.
All right. I mean, you're clearly in competition action right now. And from a local perspective and a South African perspective, there's local talent that have grown in the country and that are passionate about eSports. And, I mean, you're doing great with eKasi eSports and you're already out. You're hitting the ground running. What have been some of the challenges to get the sport involved in the neighborhood, in the community, and, of course, in some remote areas of South Africa? Gabriel.
Thanks, Arthur, again, for inviting us to be part of this panel. Well, I mean, like any other township or one can say rural areas in South Africa, there are challenges. You know, you've got economical challenges within the communities, but importantly so when it comes to esports or gaming as such, you've got challenges with regard to internet connectivity. You've got challenges with regard to access to the infrastructure. When I'm saying the infrastructure, I'm referring to things like, you know, consoles, things like gaming PCs, and just the affordability aspect of those gaming equipment. So, and also just overall, there is pretty much one can say lack of education as such with regards to the potential of esports and gaming. You know.
Yeah.
So one can pretty much say those are the one few of those challenges.
I find that quite interesting, Brad, especially because I think the solution to that would be strategic partnership with a few of the esports teams that are based locally and, of course, in the country to try to find those gaps and make things work. Because I've seen it with NBA, I've seen it with FIFA, but why isn't it happening in South Africa?
It has happened. It has. Look, this has been going around for quite some time. And let me just add an extra 2 cents. I love the eKasi guys and what they're doing. I think all of us here touched on the barriers to entry and what these guys are doing by lowering the barriers to entry and creating areas where people to come and play and bring them on the streets is huge.
Yeah.
It is massive. And I think part of the problem that we have within gaming and esports is the amount of money that it's making. And everybody's talking about the money and how attractive it is. And it's huge. We're talking about $209 million dollars in this country alone, which is 4 billion rand. That's massive. So that often attracts people who just want to get in and make a fast buck on it. You know, a lot of people are very, very attracted to this industry only because of the money, and they expect money and returns exceptionally quickly.
Correct.
And we need partners who actually see the long-term growth, who are visionaries, and need to invest in it for a long time. I mean, if we go back into a previous lifetime, when you and I worked together, we were with a business that saw that. Yeah. Unfortunately, they couldn't carry on within the industry, but we need more people like that who are prepared to invest large amounts of money with clever returns. I don't expect any business to spend money into a bottomless pit. But there are so many phenomenal avenues here within gaming that they touched on as well with regards to to education
Facilities,
around gaming.
one of them, yeah.
And not only traditional education. I mean, I don't want to go into my history, but I sort of I went to school, but majority of my education I got from the streets and from old arcade games.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
learning problem-solving skills, tenacity, perseverance, and more importantly, which a lot of people don't like to talk about, gaming teaches you how to lose.
Wow. Dave, do you agree? Does it teach you how to lose, and how do you deal with that?
Yeah, you learn to take one on the chin, man, really quickly, yeah. But also, just to add on the point that Brad was making in terms of the guys from eKasi eSports, you know what I personally would love to see is like a feeder system where teams like Bravado, White Rabbit Gaming, or Goliath take on teams like, not necessarily take on, but like a learnership, internship. I think that's quite a common thing that happens here in South Africa, where eKasi eSports interns at Bravado Gaming, and they learn the inner workings of how to run an MGO successfully. You know, from sponsorship, from how to do events, from how to brand yourself, from how to build a proper successful organization. You know, I think if you start seeing things like that, because also the guys from VS Gaming, they've got a schools league where they've got like the upper end schools in South Africa, the private schools, where they have teams and they're competing on CS:GO. A really cool thing that I would love to see is a school like Kings or JP bring on a team, a school like eMatwaleni or Middlelands High, where they shadow those guys and like share facilities, you know, because you might find that Matwaleng there's not like proper internet there, you know. The guys from Matwaleng take a cab or a bus to JP and they game together on a weekly basis. Things like that will help grow the community, because the type of environment that people from townships face is not the same as us who stay in the burbs, you know. It's not as green. There's drugs. There's so much that they face, that initiatives like that could drive young kids to get into gaming more often from a school's perspective.
I mean, Gabriel, you've obviously heard what Brad and Dave have said about bridging that gap. Is there anything you want to add to that part of just getting the sport more out there?
Yes, most definitely. I mean, I will agree also with Dave, you know, in terms of the feeder system that he was referring to, and he just referred to also to eMatwaleni High School, which is in Orlando East, and we actually back then in 2017 we worked with the school where we had like an eSports program with the school. And we also had the school part of our annual Tech Fest Expo, which by far is basically the biggest township gaming expo currently right now in South Africa. And ever since then, for the past 3 years, we have been working with schools, because, I mean, we realized the importance of that feeder system. And, I mean, if now we take a look at what we're currently doing with the eKasi eSports FIFA series, so we actually going to the gaming cafes, all right, that are based in the townships. So now we are here in Soweto with Gaming Buka Cafe. And I mean, these are the guys that are really on the ground, you know, the gaming cafes, because they bring in the kids from the streets and they house them and they allow them to basically play the games that they do not have access to at their homes. So in working with the gaming cafes around the eKasis and hopefully in the near future also around rural areas, we basically working towards bridging that gap, right? And hopefully, you know, there will be that feeder system that also will be coming through from the likes of Bravado, Goliath, as Dave has mentioned.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Gabriel. Definitely out in Soweto, having fun already, guys, and going through the eFIFA 21 series, which is something quite amazing to be a part of. The qualifiers are happening today. I can just see how intense it is already. Right after this, I can't wait to hear what Candice King has to say about one of the reports and the figures that were taken out just recently, that 22% of e-gamers are female. We get into that conversation shortly on Inside Sports.